everyone. A little late getting here, waiting on see if Jeff shows up. We're just getting started. I'm waiting to see if Brother Jeff makes it here with us. I talked with him earlier, and we were supposed to set up a little earlier to have a backstage get together. Hey, Pappy. Good to see you, brother. Hi, Crystal. I'm glad you guys made it. I'm waiting on Jeff. I spoke to him a couple hours ago, and we're supposed to have a backstage um, chat to get things in order and how we was going to do this. And now I can't get a hold of him. So hopefully he's just having minor issues and he'll be a little late getting here. Hey, Bama, how are you guys doing? Can y'all hear me well? I'm gonna have to get my. Hey, Martha. Sharon. Oh, there we go. I can see. Am I coming in loud and clear? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bama. I've tried this headset. If you guys can see it. Thank you, Crystal. Karen Yost, hello. But this headset was a gift, and I tried it on one of the other shows that I was on, and we couldn't get it to work. And I figured out the problem was actually in StreamYard. There's a setting you have to enable to use any type of Bluetooth headset. I've got all my stuff around me. Just excuse me for not having it together. I was expecting Brother Jeff to get it with me where we have a little discussion before we come on. And I hope he makes it. Something may have happened to where he couldn't. His mother's up there and she has a few problems, so he may be having issues. But if not, we'll just take the show whichever direction it goes. Hey, Denise, how are you doing? Lady in the Woods. That's good to see you guys. Very good. Have y'all, have all of you watched the video that we just posted, the Walking with Jeff? The area where we went to film that is the exact area where I had went, I believe about a year and a half ago, to dig up a small plum tree, and there was a log come whirling overhead, and it knocked a dent in my camper, and it broke the gear that opens the side window, where you crank the handle and the window opens. And that was the last time I ever went back to that area. And Jeff and I went over there, and that was the first time since I had my truck hit by that log. And it was an exciting walk. There was so much around. Going into it, we've seen some tracks, some really odd tracks. It very similar to a human's track, but it had 3 toes. And I spoke to a couple of people, and it could have been a bear track. But what threw me off was the 2 tracks that were in the sand. There were no claws. The toes were just big, round, like our big toe, but there were no nail marks, no claw marks. It was just an odd track. But we did see something in there, and Jeff had pointed it out as we were going in. We walked away from the lake, the watering hole, and there was off in front of me. Jeff was behind me, and in front of me, something shot by really fast, and I heard it, and it kind of got me on my toes. And made me a little nervous. I didn't see what it was, but it sounded too fast to be um, a deer or something. It could have very well been a bird in flight. I didn't get to see it, but we've seen several shadows, several dark spots that did move. And Jeff had spotted that figure, and he was back in the bush. And I thought that I had him what he was looking at on video, and it was odd looking. I could see it with my bare eyes, and it looked like um, someone wearing a black, a pointed hat. Let me see, my video keeps freezing up. It looked like, um, if you guys remember the pictures of the Klan when they wore them big goofy looking hats with a point on top, it looked almost like that, but it was black. And as I was looking at it, I was telling Jeff, I've got it on the screen, look at it. But looking at it in real time, it turned. And when it turned, it had pointed ears and two really bright white eyes. But on the screen of the phone, it didn't look that way. And so we moved around, and I thought, well, maybe it's a trick of the shadows. And so we split up and we moved around, and I got on the side and I could see it really well then. To begin with, I had the camera on something else, and I thought it was this whatever this thing was that Jeff was looking at, and I was looking at a shadow, and I tried to reposition to where I can get a better shot on it, and then I spotted the creature. What we were seeing, he was off to the right. I had the wrong uh, the wrong shadow was in frame on the phone, and the whatever this thing was, it was next to a tree, and originally looked like it was sitting up on its knees. It was pretty tall. And when I moved around, I seen it as it laid down. It dropped really low and had its head up. And Jeff walked a little closer toward it, and it laid its head flat on the ground. And it was just the creepiest thing I've ever seen. But it had pointed ears. Uh, I believe Jeff seen the snout. I didn't see a snout. He was looking directly at me. But I did see the ears, and it reminded me of a bat. They were just really tall. They were away from the head a little bit, and the point was very defined on it. But there was something else was in there with it, and it could have been pareidolia. I don't know, but it was looking at Jeff when I seen it, and Jeff thought it was some type of alien creature. And from where I was at, it was without a doubt it was pareidolia in my mind. But then it turned. I said something to him. I don't remember what I said, but I replied to Jeff, and when I did, it turned and looked directly at me, and it looked like an Oriental alien. If I know that sounds goofy, but it had really large eyes, but were slanted. They were slanted at an angle, and it was just the strangest thing. And so we decided to back away from there. But there wasn't any bad feeling. There wasn't any negative feeling from it. And we were probably 20 yards, 18 to 20 yards from it. And I didn't have a bad feeling in my gut. I was nervous from what I was seeing, but I didn't have that nasty, that feeling you get, that presence, that nasty presence around you. I didn't experience that. When we were coming out, we went back toward the lake to get away from it. It was getting dark pretty quick, and I was already nervous when whatever it was shot past us, up ahead of us a little bit, and hearing the footsteps and the palmettos moving where something walked through them. I was nervous from that. And then we seen this thing. I don't know what it was. I can't say definitively, but I can say it was definitely a creature of some type. I just don't know what. It didn't appear to be very large. If I were to guess, probably 5 to 5.5 feet tall if it were to stand up. But when we come back out, we were trying to get back to the truck. Jeff's light started acting up, and it wouldn't come on at all. And he's got this light that is, uh, in my mind, it would be something the military would use. It's so incredibly bright, but it wouldn't come on. He was clicking it and playing with the cap, and it just wouldn't come on. And so we're making our way back to the truck at the edge of the lake, and I got that feeling that we were being watched, and it was very intense. And I turned and looked behind me, and it looked like a man was standing back there behind us. And when I come in, I filmed that same spot, and there was no figure there. But when we come out and when I look back, there was a man standing there. And I told Jeff, I said, look, look at that. I'm trying to point it out to him, and he's seen it right away. And I thought it was closer than what it really was until we got to discussing it, and we went back in the video and watched it, and he was over 200 yards from us. But in the video, when I zoomed in, the zoom on, we used the phone for that filming, and when I zoomed that far away, it's very pixelated and broke up. If there were a vehicle parked there and I were to zoom in on it, it would have, the vehicle would look like it has holes all through it, like you can see through it in places. And it's just the digital video. It's something with that digital work. But when I zoomed in on the phone at this, would look like a man. When we got up close, you could see through it. It looked like it was transparent, but he wasn't. We could see him with our bare eyes, and he was just solid black. And he looked angry. He looked like he wanted us out of there. But what was so odd is that area was open. When we came in, it was wide open right there, and we could see. I actually filmed a little island that was down at that end of that lake, and that he was to the left of that island. And there's a pretty large oak tree over there. And when we come out, he was standing beside that oak tree, and we could see just about his entire body, his head, the shoulders, both arms, his midsection, the legs. You could make out the entire body all the way down to the feet. And it scared both of us. And so we started making our way back toward the truck, and we stopped for a minute. Jeff was trying to get that light to come on. And to our right, which is about 300 yards away from us toward the right, when we were headed out, is where the plum tree is, where I had my camper and my truck dented in. There was a sound that come from there, and I thought it was a hoot or a holler, like a high-pitched holler. And it sounded off again, and it was a whistle. It was a really strange sound. It sounded like one of them owls. I don't remember the name of that little owl, but it's one of the breeds of owl that we don't have in this area. And I've heard them when I was up in North Georgia. We've heard those owls. I forget what they call them, but they're a smaller owl. But it wasn't the owl. There was a different sound to it. But it started at our immediate right side as we were exiting. And then another one sounded off ahead of us. And then one was sort of behind us and off to the right. But it was almost as though whatever this was communicating through these weird whistles. And I got that feeling that we needed to go. And Jeff confirmed that when he said, we need to get out of here. We went ahead, and when we made it back to the truck, we got about 30 or 40 feet from the road. Jeff's light came back on, and it wouldn't come on for nothing out there. And he turned it on and off several times, and it worked perfect, no problems. But back there in the bush, when we had first seen that figure that was in the bushes, in that thick stuff, squatted next to the tree, Jeff tried to look at it through his binoculars, and we had pretty good daylight, and he couldn't see it at all. And he said it wasn't even there was no darkness, there was nothing there. It was just a void, but both of us could see it, and it wasn't in the shadow of the tree. Where it was sitting at was rather open. It had a few sparse limbs between us and it, but it was open behind it, and then off toward the north, further away from us, it was open. But we could see it just as plain as we were looking at one another, and it had fur. You could make out the fur. It was very clear, very obvious. But the eyes were something I've never seen. They were white. It didn't appear to have a pupil, and it wasn't eye shine because it was still daylight out when we had first seen it. I don't have an answer for what it was. Jeff's pretty sure that it was one of them dogman creatures, but that I don't know. Yeah, Mindy, it may have been cloaked. I wasn't so sure what I thought about that cloaking, but I would have to say I believe in it from what I've seen this year. I believe I've seen. I do believe there is something to it. I've had a bunch of emails. I haven't had time to get to the comments. We've been really, really busy. This is one of the worst years that we've had trying to get caught up on everything. We have fence failures. We have a lot going on here, and we don't have help. So an 8-hour project normally lasts 3 or 4 days before I can get it done. And so I haven't had the time to reply to all the comments. I'm trying. I'll get to them as I can, but it's just hard to work with one hand and hold the phone with the other. But the emails and a lot of the comments that I have seen, people are seeing a lot in that video, and you could feel eyes on you when we were out there, but it was just in certain spots. It wasn't everywhere. It wasn't all around us. We would walk 100 feet and just, it would feel like any other day in the park. And let me see. I think, there we go. There's Brother Jeff.
I had technical difficulty.
Are you with us?
Yes,
there he is.
I'm with you. I'm driving. I'll be home in about 5 minutes. But go ahead and start. Sorry about that.
Okay, can you guys hear Jeff? That's right. Can y'all hear him? Let's see. I'm watching the comments, Jeff.
Hello.
If everybody can hear you.
Hello, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Let's see. Yes. George says yes. Dee says yes. Everybody hears you, and Mindy says, "Hey, Jeff."
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
Yeah, Jeff. I was telling him. Oh no, that's all right. I was telling them, just giving them a brief rundown of what we experienced out there, and when you had spotted that black thing with the pointed ears,
right?
And I was telling them from my point of view what I was seeing, and which you had a different perspective on it.
Yeah. I was about 4 or 5 feet up from you, and I was at a couple of steps higher than you were. And I had a better view of that particular tree, I guess, than you did. You were a little bit lower than I was. Had some brush in between you and the thing. I just looked over and here's this pine tree, and I just saw something. It looked like a head. It honest to God looked like a half a coconut. That's what it looked like, and it looked out of place beside that pine tree. And I didn't say anything until you start with it. I just watched it for a little bit, and all of a sudden it moved. It kind of shifted and moved a little bit towards the tree, and I saw more of it. And I'm like, man, that's something. It's not just my imagination, I don't think. Well, I thought it moved again. That's when I told you, I said, Donnie, there's something over beside that tree. You see that black thing I got? Yeah, that's when you put the camera on it. And I'm more time. And the but I can't see anything but just the top of that head. I can't see ears. I can't see anything but the top of that head. And you said, yeah, but yeah, that thing got eyes and pointed ears. When you said pointed ears, that got my attention real quick. Uh, I know squash don't have pointed ears. Ain't like Mr. Spock. They got kind of round ears like we got, maybe a little bit flatter and bigger. But that kind of got my
Oh yeah.
concern up because first thing I thought about was the dog man has pointed ears. What exactly is that? But when you told me that, that did concern me. But I never saw anything but the head of it myself. I simply you started getting a bad feeling. And when we pulled back, I went in and let you pull back away to get you a head start, and then I backed. I never took my eyes off of it from the time I saw it. I was afraid to, not knowing what it was.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When it turned and its head and looked at me is when I seen the pointed ears, and that's when
Yeah,
I told you the eyes were white and
yeah,
it
yeah.
had
You
pointed
tried
ears
you
like a
tried to get
bat.
me
I
to
think
look at
is
it.
what it said.
You said look at the camera, and I just didn't want to take my eyes off of it. I just didn't know what it was, and I didn't want to take my focus off of it. And because then of course we pulled back towards the swamp lake, so we had a little bit of a defendable position. But the pointed ears almost gave it away to me to start with. It wasn't
Yeah.
the position it was in, and what it looked like to me. And then when you said it had pointed ears and white eyes, I had underlying concern there. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know what it was, but I had an underlying
Now
concern. I
did
knew it was something real.
oh yeah, it was definitely solid. But something I was wanting to ask you, we haven't Jeff and I haven't been able to talk. We got back home pretty late that evening, and we were more concerned with that thing that we saw by the tree, and then this that great big giant that was at the
Yeah.
end of the lake.
Whoa.
But he had to leave the following morning. With if you guys don't know, Jeff lives out of state, and he comes down and spends a week with us at a time. And he had to leave the next morning pretty early, and we haven't been able to actually sit and talk about this. And we finally
Sure.
got to talk today, and we decided, instead of burning energy and spilling everything over the phone, let's have a live show tonight where our family here on YouTube can also uh, hear what we experienced. But there's something I wanted to ask you, and I was just mentioning it before you came on. When we seen that thing by the tree that had the pointed ears, I seen something else over there close to it. Did you see anything
I thought I saw
besides
something
that?
else. I couldn't see anything that I could say with any specifically, but I thought I saw something
Yeah,
else move that wasn't that same exact color. That I saw some movement, what looked like through that brush, real close to it. I don't know exactly how close, but real close to it. That didn't appear to be the same color as that head I was looking at.
right.
But I couldn't tell
Now,
you
what
what
I
I
saw
couldn't tell you what it was.
was behind it, right?
Yeah,
And from what I saw, it was behind it and to the left side, just over the left shoulder. Um,
it
what did
was to
it
the
look
left of
like
it.
to you?
I
Yeah,
couldn't tell, Donnie.
and
I couldn't actually see it at all. I'm gonna tell you, no,
but you
it
did
may
you
sound
see the eyes?
it may sound stupid, but it looked like it had really big eyes. Uh, Now I don't know
Yep,
that for sure, but I'm gonna tell you what, it looked like an alien or something to me. But I thought I was just maybe
there were.
being
Yeah,
paranoid or something. Because I was thinking dog man the whole time when you said pointed ears. That was my number one
yeah.
concern.
Well, that's the same thing. Um, I thought about it. I got some emails today about that, and I thought about it hard, and that's what
I thought it was my imagination, honestly. I just thought it was my imagination because I'd already got kind of, well, not spooked, but concerned of what this thing was. And then uh, I saw that other thing, and I didn't exactly know what it was. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I know it looked. I thought I just saw really big eyes and a long looking face. I don't. That's all I can really tell you. Uh, I couldn't tell you it was green or it was through several different shades of undergrowth or brush. But I couldn't make out what it was. Just movement, just some slight movement. But it was just enough that's what it looked like I saw. But I thought I was being crazy. It couldn't be that. Come on, man.
Oh,
Gray aliens, something
sorry
like
about
that. Give
that.
me a break.
Yeah, we
I was just
we lost connection, Jeff. I'm sorry about that.
I was just finishing up telling them. I don't know if they
Guys,
can still hear me or not. I was just telling them
yeah, for some
what I
reason
saw about it.
Yeah, yeah, we we're on mobile internet only out here. I don't have home internet, and since Hurricane Michael, we've had a lot of problems with the antenna here. We're still on a few mobile antennas, and lately we've been having a lot of problems with it dropping out like that. Um, but I'm on the tablet, and I've got my phone is in the window, and I'm using hotspot. So if we get knocked off again, I will come back on. Just please bear with us. I apologize for that.
Could they
But
still
that
hear me while I was
yeah, what you
talking?
were I believe they can. Yep. D
I was
says
just
she
telling
can
them.
hear him.
Okay, I was just telling them what I saw
Yeah.
beside the thing, or what I thought I saw, but I chalked it off with my imagination. Pretty much. I think
Yeah.
no alien knows
Well, that's
looking something be out there in the woods, out there where we was at.
yeah, that's the same thing I was telling them before you came on. It looked like an alien to me. It had the eyes were slanted. They were really big, but they were kind of slanted. It was weird.
It
But
it
I
it,
had
it had
two emails today.
it had the shape
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
of what it looks like. If I had to just guess, it had the shape of a head of one of them gray aliens that you see, on
Yeah,
TV. That that that, but it was kind of
yeah.
it wasn't straight up and down. It was kind of sideways a little bit. When I saw it, it kind of its head kind of moved towards it and then back a little bit, and that movement caught my eye. I'm like, well, what is that? That's not the same color as the animal's head that I'm looking at. And
Oh
all I
yeah.
can
Did
tell
you?
you is that's
I
kind of
just
what it
got
looked
a
like. I
I
thought I'd
got a
been
comment I
crazy.
just put up from Mike. Yeah, I had to check it several times, but Mike had just posted this in the comments. He says, when I was
Watching
watching
last
last
night.
night, I thought I saw two different objects. When we were looking at that thing,
Yeah,
uh, Mike Williams, he had watched it last night, and he said that he thought he saw two different objects also.
I didn't see two.
Oh, let me
But
see.
I hadn't reviewed the film that much or anything. I've only watched it one time, just regular, and then I went back and looked at a couple of
Oh,
things.
yeah. Let me see what I done here. This doggone thing's acting up on me. Shoot. Let me see. There we go. Okay, now I can do so. Well, I thought I could. Yeah, can you hear me, Jeff?
Yes, sir. Just fine.
Okay, my friend's screen is froze up. Let me see if I can get back to it.
I can see that
I
comment.
just had it. Yeah,
For Mike.
my screen froze up on me for some reason.
You want the one for Mike Williams?
So I'm trying to get it. Yes.
I can see
Yeah.
it. This is Donnie. I was watching last night and thought I saw two different objects when you and Jeff were looking at it.
Yes. Yep. And that's the same thing. You know what I saw. Let me see if I can get this to unfreeze. There we go. This doggone thing. I don't know what's going on with it. But yeah, I've had emails today that say the same thing. People saying the same thing, and I've never seen nothing like that. That thing with the pointed ears, or that big head thing with the big eyes.
I can tell you what I did do. The you didn't film that much of that thing as far as time wise, but I took and we run the film and I screenshotted every second that I could of it. And then I would go back and look at the screenshots so I can actually blow them up a little bit on my phone. And I thought it was just pareidolia. Man, there's some funky looking stuff in some of them pictures I saw. And I wouldn't even take a guess as to what they was, but one of them was the alien looking thing. I saw that thing in several of those different screenshots, and when I really thought of my imagination, to begin with, when I started seeing it on the screenshots, I'm thinking, well, what would an alien be doing out there with a dog man, in the middle of the woods, swamps? That just didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I kind of chalked it off as pareidolia.
I seen it when we had split up and kind of where I went off to the side and you went straight in front of it, and I seen it. What caught my eye is it rotated its head toward me, and that's when I seen the face and the big eyes, and it just. But it was camouflaged. It looked like the leaves and the stuff around it. It was strange. I've never seen nothing like that. But the dark thing with the pointed ears is what had me concerned. I was focused on that, and I just,
me too. That was my concern. That was my focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I was telling them when when we left, your light started acting up.
It never came on. It was drained.
Until we got to the truck, and
it was fully charged. But when we were in the woods, a brand new lamp. It was fully charged. I know that for a fact. It was blue.
Yeah, and we didn't need it.
Charged, and we didn't need it till we started out. When I went to flick it on, it wouldn't come on. I said, something wrong with my light. And it was dead. And I know it was charged. I wouldn't have went in no swamp.
Yeah, there's
that place, no light.
Oh no! You see what Martha put up? Remember, I was zoomed across the lake, and I told you I seen something over there.
Yeah,
moving. Martha. Can you read her comment there? When she said, when I zoomed in, looking across the lake, she thought that there was something there too. And it was twice I'd seen something over there, and I told you by that red thing.
Yeah, by that old rusty thing. It was an old hot water heater or something that was rusty though. I looked at it through my binoculars but I saw that was directly across from us when you took that zoomed on that picture way down across the bottom of that lake, the end of it, and you said there's a dark spot down there, and you said it wasn't it was too far for your camera to zoom in on it correctly, and I think I was up above you. I didn't look at it through the binocular, but I wish I had because I done the screenshot on that, and I can't say whether it is or whether it isn't, but I can tell you for certain it looks just like a humongous Sasquatch down there looking at us. I mean, its profile, not I can't tell that's what it was, but it looked just like a humongous
when we were leaving.
A Sasquatch looking at us. I mean, just the profile.
Yeah,
but I couldn't
that
see
was. That's when we walked out and we started heading back. Right when I told you I thought we were being watched. Yeah, that was big, and it wasn't there when we come in.
No, it wasn't there.
Because we were discussing going around that end of that lake, and we had stopped the video for a little bit. We had to reposition our gear, and so I stopped recording for a few minutes, and we were talking about going around that end of the lake, but neither one of us had muck boots on.
No.
And so we finally decided against it, and I looked at it through the camera, but there was no figure there at all. And we came out the exact path we went in on. And I got a really bad feeling that we were being watched. And I think you had confirmed it when I told you I felt like we were being watched. And you said something about felt like eyes all on us.
Well, we've probably been watched ever since we walked in here.
Oh, yeah. And that's when I turned around and that big thing was couple hundred yards behind us, standing by
Yeah,
that tree.
and I'm gonna tell you something, man.
And
That was
that,
spooky. That was spooky looking. Um,
yeah, yeah, that was definitely. It got me a little shaky, got me nervous, and
yeah, I would not
we
want to
were
run up on that
armed.
fella. It's a fixed stuff.
No, no, not at all. I don't know how tall he actually was, but guessing compared to the oak tree that was down there, I would estimate around 11 feet.
I would say at
Um,
least 11 feet.
that was,
It's the biggest profile one
uh,
I've ever seen, man. It was just
yeah, I agree.
enormous,
I
enormous.
absolutely agree.
I don't know if that's what it was. That's just exactly what it looks like, though. To me,
Yeah.
I can't say whether
And
it
now
was or
that,
wasn't, but
what did you think about the when we were leaving, right after we seen that, and we decided to just get to the truck and get out of there? Uh, the whistles.
oh man,
What do you think about that?
that's the only time I really felt really concerned. Uh, but I've never heard that bird whistle before. It's a very strange and a long whistle. But what I was hearing was one or two coming from our side of the road, but but I don't know which way it is
Yeah.
towards the plum tree, if that's north or which direction. But it was coming from the direction of the plum tree, but was on our side of the road. And then I was hearing at least two or three different ones on the other side of the road at different intervals, whistling at each other.
Yeah.
And it's just I took it as they were converging on us. That wasn't an escort out.
Yeah.
That was like backup or reinforcements or something. That's how I felt when I was hearing it, and where they were coming from, and the frequency of them. I was ready to get, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like
It was time to
that
go.
they were starting to circle around us,
Yeah, exactly,
and
exactly.
the the very first whistle we had, uh, the truck was southeast of where we were at, and the plum tree where I had my truck damaged was due west of where we were by that lake. And as we were headed back, it was due west of you, right? It wasn't. It didn't sound as more than 20 yards from you is where that first whistle started.
That first whistle was close,
And I
real
thought
close.
it was, yeah,
It was up there in
I
pines.
thought it
We
was
was playing
a hoot
pines.
or something.
It sounded.
Yes.
It was a
Yep.
strange. It was a
Absolutely.
strange noise.
Yeah. Yeah. Dia just popped up in the comments. Let me see if I can get it to come up
Oh,
there.
I
She want to know
understand.
if we had any feelings of fear, and I didn't until we seen that big one when we were leaving. That's when I got scared.
That bothered me.
The,
I'm gonna say it scared me, but
the
it really. I was greatly concerned. I put it that way.
yeah, and it got really for me. My nerves really jumped over the edge when the whistling started because it
That
started
bothered me.
straight across from you, and
Yep.
then sort of behind me a little to the side, and then like they were working. It sounded like it was five different areas that the
Exactly. Yeah.
whistling was coming
Yeah.
from.
I think at least five
And
uh, different creatures, whatever they were. They were different locations,
yeah,
like coming
and
together.
and we just all we had was that one escape route. You know, the one taking us right to the truck was the only way we had to get out.
That's right.
And that's what was really making me nervous is when they they were moving so close to that escape route. That's when I got scared. That
They came on
one that was
quick too, man.
closest, yeah, yep, and the one that came right up um, on us at the path. Let me see where I'm at here. My screen's doing all kind of weird stuff. The path that we had to go out was it was a straight southwest path, and it was once we got off the edge of the lake, it was a straight shot. But that last whistle it couldn't have been no more than 20 feet from that path. It was right there, and we still had probably 70 feet or so just to
I didn't
get to
tell
the beginning of the path, and that's when I got nervous.
I didn't tell you, but my safety was all
Yeah, go
screwed
ahead,
out
buddy.
until I got in the truck. You hear me?
No, I'm glad.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
and
know what was coming,
I
man.
understand.
I was ready for anything. I just wanted to get in the truck. That's all I wanted to do at that point and go. Not
Oh
sit
yeah,
there, go and go. I didn't want to sit in the truck. I wanted to get in the truck and go. It was time to go.
well, it what made it for me, what made it really nerve wracking is when the whistling started, everything else stopped. It's like it went
Everything
silent in
you
there.
could have heard a pin drop
But
when that first whistle went off.
yeah, but you could hear the steps. They were
Oh,
faint, like they were tiptoeing, but you could hear the steps.
you could hear them coming. I heard them. I heard
Oh
them
yeah,
moving towards each other and to us. I didn't like
yeah,
that. That was a bad feeling. I thought
yes,
we had.
sir. I agree.
I thought we was in trouble there for a minute. We just beat them to the truck. That's all.
Yeah, but that's when we picked the pace up, and it
Yeah.
was so beautiful when we got there. It was just it was such a good feeling. It felt like a nice area, and it
You know what blew my
started for
mind?
me.
I mean, all the stuff that happened on that in that
What's
walk
that?
was all them limbs that was drug in there. Something they wasn't but one of them limbs
Oh
that we
yeah,
could find that broke off one of those trees. All those big limbs that was put in there like as barriers. They all went the same way. The thick end of the tree was to the. I mean, the thick end was facing the pines, and the branch. I believe the branch and all the leaves end was facing the water. And it was. It's like they were drug in there as an intentional barrier or a keep out. To keep to keep people either to make noise coming in or to hinder them from coming in. Something put all those
oh
limbs
yeah,
there, and they were humongous limbs, humongous. I mean, limbs
yes,
almost
yeah,
like I could have drug myself.
yeah. There was some of the limbs. If you guys didn't see them in there, I mean, they were as big as a 5 gallon bucket.
Oh yeah,
They were huge, but they were broke off. There wasn't any of them cut.
no,
And then
all
we
broke.
that one oak tree had a hickory limb in it. And
Hmm.
remember that oak? It looked like a the way the limb was kind of weaved into branches, but it was a hickory
Yeah,
limb, and there's no
yeah, it
hickory
sure
trees
was.
over there.
It sure was.
And,
That was strange. That was very
and
strange.
they had yeah, this is what George just put up. It was a funnel for hunting. That's the same thing that we had discussed.
It very
It
well may have
looked
been.
like uh, that they set them up as a barricade
Like an ambush
for
type
hunting.
of area.
Yes, yeah, yep, and that was
That very well
it was
very
just
well could be.
the whole area was strange.
They were strategically placed. I know that much. They were definitely strategically placed in there. Um,
Yes, yeah.
and
There's D.
something brought those in there. They're not natural that area. There's nowhere they could even come from that area. They were brought from other areas into there.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
it was just
there's
very
no oaks
strange.
outside of that except for yeah, yeah. And
Very
did you
strange
see
looking at
the?
it
I don't know if you can see
and
the
trying to
screen.
and wondering what why what could have done that. I mean, my gosh, it took a lot of men, a lot of work to have done that. Was it Miss D?
If you can break them down, but they were
I mean,
none of them leaves were rotted. The limbs.
no,
Yeah,
they weren't right.
lady in the woods just she had posted a question on there if I had to the
She,
same feeling
yeah,
as the last time I'd went up there. Uh, D, I didn't. It was actually a really good feeling when we went in there. It was nice. It was a really just a beautiful area.
hmm
But for me, the feeling started when we walked up on that black thing that had the pointed ears.
yeah,
Um, that's when it started, and it wasn't the feeling. It was I was just nervous. I didn't know what I was looking at, and
If you remember,
that
you had
had my
that
nerves on edge.
run
Uh,
right before we saw that thing. Something took off running. Remember, right there
yeah,
before
right
we got
there
to that
ahead
thing.
of me.
Yeah, something right ahead of you spooked you.
Yeah,
You don't know what it was.
yeah, that scared me pretty good.
It was
It went
loud.
by
It was
so
loud.
fast. It almost sounded. I didn't think about it
I,
at the time, but it almost sounded like somebody threw a fairly large rock at us. It sounded like a
it,
rock going through the helmet.
I never saw anything. I heard the noise, but I never saw anything. Not
Yeah,
anything
I didn't.
running or
I
anything.
thought I seen movement, but I believe it's just because the sound spooked me. I can't be positive that I seen something move, but I definitely heard it, and that got my nerves going pretty quick. But
Yeah.
no, D, when we decided to back away from that creature that was, it may have been a dog man. I don't know what it was. Um, but when we backed away from it and we got closer to the pond, the little lake, probably 30 or 40 feet from it, that's when the feeling started coming over me that we were being watched. And I had a really, just a rough feeling in my gut, like we shouldn't be there. And Jeff had mentioned something to the same effect, that he felt eyes all over him. And I turned around, and that's when we seen that big creature, the big figure
Yeah.
down at the end of the
Yeah.
lake. But I tried to, when I zoomed in on it, it got so pixelated. It just looked like it had a bunch of holes all through it. You couldn't really see it. But looking with our bare eyes, it was solid. It was just as black can be. And
It,
it looked like that he was in that stance that, I don't want y'all here. Y'all need to go.
oh yeah,
And
it was a
I was
dominant
happy to
stance.
leave after that part.
That thing was extremely scary looking. If you could see
Yeah,
that thing and
just
see it
um,
fairly up close, everybody would know why people say if they see them with a gun. They said my gun wasn't big enough. I was afraid to shoot it. You would, if you saw that thing up close, that one we saw,
oh yeah,
you would understand why people think that. It was that enormous.
yeah. I had
Um,
that
mm,
encounter I had in Mariana. That was the
mm.
same situation. I was armed. I had a
And
rifle in my
we were
hands, and
well, how far we were away from that, Donnie?
I couldn't do
150,
it.
200 yards? We were probably 150 yards at
And
least
at
from that
least,
thing. And it was that big looking that far away at it.
yep. And you could even see the ankles on it. You could make out the entire body, and it was so
Mm,
spooky. Um,
man.
just the size of it, but the way it was standing there staring at us, it it had me thinking this thing's either going to take off running and charge us, or he's trying to draw our attention from something else, coming
I was
from the
really
back.
worried
It
that
was
he was
just a
coming
bad
across that
feeling
lake. He was
altogether.
going to start come running across that pond. It wasn't very deep. That's what I was worried about. And he had a straight shot at us if he'd done
No,
that.
no, yeah. Then when I had went that time, I talked to you about the when I picked went to get me one of them wild plum trees. I just kept thinking it was kids out there that threw a stick at me. I was really aggravated, but I had that feeling in my gut that it wasn't. But I went down toward that lake and I walked in right there to the edge, and it was dry. It's only got one little hole, about 150 yards around that curve, close to where that big figure was. There's one hole right there, about the size of a large truck, a pickup truck. But that's it. The rest of it's only a foot and a half deep. Uh, yeah, Carrie, this is in Florida, Northwest Florida. Uh, no, I didn't. Let me pull that one up. Wendy M asked, "Did it smell?" I didn't smell anything
I didn't know it too far
that I
away.
remember.
I didn't smell anything at all.
No, I didn't smell anything that wasn't normal. Everything that that I smelled was just the typical, the sulfur from the mud every now and then. But
The mud stump.
it was just that the whole area was strange. It wasn't like that a year or two ago when I went in there and tried to get me a plum tree.
Man.
It wasn't like that at all. They had all them big old limbs piled up, and remember we tried to walk through them, and we had to back up and kind of circle around. There wasn't a way to get through it. It was like a big funnel. And it looks like we lost Jeff for a minute.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Let's see, that may be the Wi-Fi again. There you are. I don't know if that was me or you, buddy, but one of us popped out. But yeah, that just everything about that area was off to me. I mean, it felt good, but all the tree limbs, the way they were laid out, it was just.
To me, it was beautiful, but it was something that it's like a scene of a set of a horror scene that Hollywood couldn't even start to put together. It was just it was a very strange, kind of ominous looking place, especially once we realized the Williams were placed there and didn't come from there. Um, it's just it's a good place to disappear. What I'm telling you, what it looks like to me. It's a good place just to disappear from. There's nobody hardly. Anybody hardly goes out there.
There was a hunter that disappeared in that area along probably 8 or 10 years ago. They had a guy out there hunting that disappeared. I don't know if they ever found him or not, but he was stalk hunting on foot. No, I won't be going back unless I got somebody with me. But that, I don't know if I even want to go back there. That's seeing that thing, that black thing. And,
I took that as a warning myself. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Don't come back, and don't come back. That's what was going to
be my mind. There's yeah, Brett had just commented, wanting to know if we were going back to that location. I would. If
again,
Jeff was with me, I'd go.
I'd be set up a little different next time we go.
Yeah. We had we don't never go to any of these places unarmed. Yeah, Marta says at least not in the dark. Absolutely. Yeah, it got. What's so strange?
Get me back out of the dark.
That's right. What's so strange though, we've seen a lot of movement, a lot of things darting past during the daytime. But as soon as that sun went down, that place changed. It came alive. And I don't know. I've been in the woods a lot.
Now that I think about it, I personally didn't see any birds or any squirrels or any rabbits or any live game whatsoever. I saw a fish in the water. Them do water, remember little ripples in the water? I said that must be fish in there.
Yeah.
But as far as any other animal, period, I don't remember seeing another one. You saw something with through your camera lens once on the other side of that bank. Might have been a squirrel or something, but I never saw anything.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. JJ just asked if we think that area was recently flooded. No, that area is really high. It's that little lake that's right there. It's got a clay bed that's under it. That whole area's got red clay under it.
Hard soil around it.
Yeah, this real hard ground, even with the sand on top. But it'll hold water until it eventually evaporates or gets saturated into the soil. But we had a lot of rain a few weeks back. We had 29 inches in 2 days. And I believe that water that was there is just remnants from that rain that we had. But normally that whole area is dry. There are a few lakes around there, but you've almost got to hike downhill to get to them. And it's rough coming out if you got bad legs or bad back. It's such a steep climb, and it's got that loose sand on top, and it's a nightmare to even get back. We used to fish them as children, and we heard a lot of strange stuff. We've had sticks and rocks thrown in the water around us when we were fishing years back, but I always chalked it off as other kids in the woods somewhere. But it's too high ground to flood. It's just that whole area. I don't know. I don't know how to even categorize it. It's off. When the sun goes down, that place is off. It's like a veil opens. It's a
like
different feel. Yeah. And a lot of the places, one of the places I do the majority of my film, and Jeff has been there with me also. In that area, when it gets dark, it doesn't have that feeling. It feels like any other place you'd be when the sun goes down. But where we went and filmed this video, the minute the sun went behind the trees, it took on a whole different feeling. It was the type of feeling you didn't want to turn your back on anything. You got to keep an eye on everything around you. And I don't like that. There's a reason for it. And I think we've seen some of what the reason would be.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. And, I just seen what, this is what Martha knows me well. She's a very, very beloved friend of ours. And where she posted in here that Donnie is always prayed up and armed before he goes out. And that's the absolute truth. But Jeff had said something to me, and it's not on video, I don't believe, when we had left that place. Do you remember what it was that you were saying about praying when we got out of there, Jeff?
I remember distinctly when you told me that thing had two white eyes and pointed ears. The second you said that to me,
yeah.
I asked the Lord's protection over both of us. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you think you've said some earnest prayers in your life, whether you're 20 yards from what you think might be a dog man, and know that something's real there, and you think it's a dog man, I promise you that'll be the most earnest prayer you ever prayed. And God heard that prayer, and He got us out of there safely. I give Him all the credit for that.
Oh yes.
I firmly believe He protected us. I never felt any aggression whatsoever from that thing. I never
you
showed any
froze.
aggression, and I returned the favor, and we just backed away quietly. But I really do believe God protected us that day. They was I didn't sense that dog man being evil like some people talk about. I never sensed that about that creature. I just kind of sensed it wanted to be left alone. But I think it knew I had the upper hand on it. But I just supported the same courtesy it gave us. It didn't attack us. I wasn't going to attack it. We backed out and we made it back to the truck. Thank the Lord. I give Him all the praise for that. I think He heard that prayer instantly, and I think He acted instantly. And He put a shield of protection around us, Donnie. I really do believe that. We made it back to that truck, and they didn't get to us before we got in the truck and got out of there. So it all worked out great, thanks to Him. I give Him that credit, not me or you. I give Him that credit. That was a very earnest prayer on my part. I can assure you. Oh, there goes Donnie again. I'm gonna tell you, folks, that was about one of the most interesting experiences of my life. I've been in a lot of situations. I've been in the woods my entire life. I love to hunt. I used to love to hunt. I don't hunt anymore. But I just really love Donnie. Donnie's the real deal. He is that good man. Y'all seen these videos. I love that guy. I would protect him on my own life. He's a good man.
Okay. Sorry about that. That's my signal. This. and I'm in the best place of the house to have a signal. I got the phone in the back window. I apologize for that. We will have internet one day. We just got priorities that are ahead of that. Yeah, Kim just told me there's also.
Oh, I think you froze again, Donnie. Yep. See, when I saw that thing, Donnie can't run. He's had his back broke twice, and I knew he couldn't run, and just had to make sure we got out of there, and I got him out of there. We didn't have to run, and I done whatever I had to to get him out. I didn't want no trouble with none of them creatures. The last thing world I'd want to do is hurt anything. But you can better believe it come down to us or them, it would have been them. I was gonna get Donnie back that truck. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. This I had a good signal and it just kicked me out. But Kim just told me our church had the same issue. Now, where'd I go? There we go. Yeah, it keeps freezing up on me. Can you hear me, Jeff? Hey, Jeff, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There, buddy. Hey, Donnie. It's a good thing old Donnie's a good sport, man. When I watched that video first time about the encounter at the plum tree, and he threw that stick and hit Donnie's truck, I knew what threw that stick. It wasn't no person. I knew what threw it. And here come old Donnie. So got mad because he just struck and then his champer. He threatened to call the game warden on Bigfoot, like old Bigfoot give a flip. But he called the game warden not. You can't do that game warden on me, Donnie. That's what they did. I was thinking. And I got so tickled at him over that. But, he's a good sport, man. He didn't take offense to it. He thought it was some boys or something in there, messing with him. And I understand that. But, and that was really funny. To me, I'm sorry, that was just really funny. I've laughed so many times over that. He's a good guy. He's got a good sense of humor.
Is it just me knocking off?
Hey, you back, buddy?
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Still can't hear you, Donnie. I was just telling them about the good folks about you calling the game warden on Bigfoot. Sorry, man. That was all. He was scared. I don't blame him. I'd been scared too, probably. Man, watching that from a outside looking in position, that was just hilarious. I found that just hilarious. It's a good thing he's a good sport. He didn't take offense to that. I can't keep grinning to save my life. I look at him and think of it. It's just Bigfoot. He's sure worried about that game warden. I bet you. Yeah. I just hear him talking about it after it's all over with, after we left. I said, boy, we really worried about that guy calling that game warden, wouldn't we? You can't get to that game warden out here. He don't want to come out here. Oh man, sorry. It's just really, that's really funny to me. Bless his heart, I know he was scared there. He didn't know what had happened. And that thing threw that stick a long ways too. That stick cut a long ways off.
Gee,
hey there, silent partner.
I think it's fixing to drop out again.
Can you hear me, Donnie? Well, he looks frozen in time, folks. Yeah, that's just a very comical. That's just hilarious to me, man. Don't call the game warden on Bigfoot. Like I'll think about that. If they find out, it'll come to you. Oh man, it's a shame. I know good and well that parks and recreation people, game and fish people, they know about these things. They fully cognizant of them existing, and pretty much where they exist, the areas they exist in. And I'll be honest with you, for them not to tell the people, uh, there's good men and women in this country, citizens of this country, it's got young kids that go hiking the state parks and federal land and stuff. I think that's an abomination.
I'm
That's unforgivable
I'm afraid to
for
even
them to do
talk.
that and not at least warn them of what is there. That's how I feel. I think all creatures, God's creatures, got a right to exist.
Jeff, can you hear me at all?
But if there's a danger, they warned you about the buffalo in Yellowstone with good reason. They warned you about the grizzly bears in grizzly country. So why would you not warn somebody of a dog man or a Bigfoot uh, that's so stealthy, so capable, and we don't stand a chance against any size one of them, either one of them, a dog man or a Bigfoot. We are no match for their strength and speed and intelligence. Unarmed, we are no match for any of them. And I just think that's a terrible thing to do to the people if you're here to protect and represent. Um, if I was president, somebody'd be hanging over that. They'd be spending a long time in prison, I can tell you, for hiding that knowledge. And I think it's because they can't control them or something. I don't know. But it don't excuse the fact that they didn't warn the folks. Hey, Donnie.
Can you hear me?
Buddy? Poor fella.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I ain't never done this before, folks. Y'all just bear with me. I don't know what to do.
Hold on.
Just continue talking.
Yeah, hold on.
I was there just to basically protect Donnie while he filmed, just to be a lookout, make sure nothing slipped up on him, because he's trying to concentrate making a video and all. And so I was basically like his security, and that's exactly how I approached that. I went ahead of him. I scanned my binoculars, my Steiners, great binoculars, and I was armed sufficiently for pretty much anything. And I would have worn my long pants had I known what I know now, because I got wrapped several bars around each ankle. I hurt pretty good, pretty bad, I should say. But that place is it's hard to describe. It's so beautiful when you see it, like in the afternoon, like when we started in. It's so beautiful. It's just real still, and those big old
there we
lake.
are.
It's
Can you
just
hear me?
very, very pretty. Looking at it from a nature standpoint.
Right.
And then when you start around it and you start seeing all them limbs piled up that you realize was drug in there, they were placed there and they didn't fall.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Where you start saying, well, holy crap, man, this is a lot. Hey, Donnie. Hey, buddy.
Can you hear me? Am I coming through? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Donnie? I can't hear you at all.
Yeah,
can you guys, audio at all.
Let me see. Can you guys hear me?
I don't know if the chat or the people can hear you or not. If y'all can hear Donnie, how about telling him in a comment or something that you can't hear him or you can't hear him?
Yeah.
That would be nice and helpful for you. Okay, they hear Donnie. Is it me they're not hearing?
Let's see.
Can y'all hear me?
Can't. There's Susan.
Okay. We just can't hear each other.
Yeah, I can hear him.
I'm gonna hush down and let you talk a while.
I don't know what's going on with this thing. I had to back out,
brother.
Yeah, Jeff, you may have to back out. Let me see. It's a little different doing this on the phone. I'm going to step outside. Excuse me. All right, let me get right here. Okay. Let's see. Jeff can't hear me, so let me see. Okay, I cannot put a comment in from my phone. Can one of you guys comment to tell Jeff to back out and then come back on the studio? Yeah, let's see, my earbuds are loud, Denise. I can hear Jeff fantastic. Yeah, he just can't hear me. He's going to have to back out and come out of studio and then right back in, and then it'll fix his problem. Excuse me.
Okay, back out. I'm say leave.
Okay, let's see if he comes back on. Thank you, Stephanie. I don't know what's going on with this. I think it may be the tablet. I'm on the phone now. I just disconnected it completely. Or let's see. Can you guys hear me okay now? Trying to see the comments. Are you guys able to hear me in the comments? Jason says good. Oh, there we go. Let me see. Bring him on. Come on, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Hey, yes, sir. I sure can. Good job, man.
There we go. Yeah, I guess it's the tablet. I'm on my phone now. I just disconnected it, and it's a much better picture. It's not as big,
It is a lot better picture.
but it may be. I played with the settings on the tablet to get the a better picture out of it, a higher definition picture, and I may have messed something up. I've got to get internet going here. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. I'm sure all of that was due to my connection over here. Hopefully, we'll be good to go. I've got a good signal. I'm outside in the back, and yep, I got almost a full signal. Okay, Jeff, where were we at? I'm sorry about that.
I don't know. I was just telling a story about you calling the game board on Bigfoot while you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, yeah. That there was something. I had some people. I've had several comments from you guys. It wasn't the our regular family. It was some of the new people that have joined us about my encounter in Mariana. Jeff, you know my encounter pretty well. Do you are you okay with me sharing it again?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, go right ahead.
I'll try to break it down and make it
If you can, I know that's
as short as
hard for
possible.
it's hard for you, man.
I've relived it so many times. It's not so hard anymore. I've told it to so many people,
Uh,
trying to get them to come forward with what they've went through. Um,
I've
let's
heard a lot
see.
of it. That's a bad encounter.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. Uh, okay, the back in 2011 in Mariana, Florida. Mariana is a farming community. A lot of peanut farms, soybean, cotton, just your typical southern farming community. Well, we had contracts with several farms to remove the wild hogs off the property that were causing the destruction to the crops, and it was quite severe. One of the areas that we were working, it was around 2,400 acres. It was a large farm. It was divided into four fields. It was three main fields and a little one. The traps I had set up, they were 16-foot by 16-foot square traps, and they had swing gate doors on them, to where when a wild pig goes into it, it's not like a guillotine door that it'll shut and that's it. Whichever animal hits the trigger, then that's the only animals that are in the pen. A swing gate will allow the pigs to keep coming and coming. They'll fill it up, but they can't get out. And that's how we would take and relocate the pigs. Well, the traps have to be checked every other day because the pigs, they drink their body weight in water each day, each pig. And this was in April of 2011. And I beat around the bush, and it was 2 days since we checked the trap last, and I had to check it. We didn't have a choice. But the rest of the crew, they all worked. Uh, I've been on a fixed income because of the bone disease and all the injuries, so I'm the only one that didn't work full time. And so I decided I'd go by myself, and I just had a bad feeling not to do that, to wait until I had somebody to go with me. But uh, I had to go. If there were pigs in the trap, they would have died a pretty horrible death. They would have died of dehydration or starved to death. And so I called a friend of mine. You guys are going to think I'm nuts, but it was my ex-girlfriend. And I asked her, I said, look, would you ride with me so I can check the trap? You stay in the car, leave the air conditioner running. It was hot out. And I told her, I said, you drive. We'll pull in to the small field, and there's a little road, a little two trail that goes from the small field, the field closest to the highway, through this really thick, uh, just overgrown area. And it goes into the large field, and that's where the tractor would go from field to field. And so I pulled the little Toyota Tercel right on the beginning part of that road. And I got out and left her in the driver's seat with the engine running, the air conditioner going, and the windows up because the mosquitoes were bad. And I walked down that road about 100, 110 yards, and then I have to cross the field to get to where the pig trap was on the other side of the peanut field. Well, as I get down the road about halfway down it, off to my left in that real thick stuff, I could hear footsteps. And they were parallel in mine. That they were in sequence. I would take a step, and just a half a second, he would step. And so I stopped walking, and then he took that extra step, and I thought, well, dadgum, there's something over there. And I start walking again, and he would start walking. I would stop, and he would take that one extra step. And so I knew there was something over there. I just didn't know what it was. And 2011, I have never even heard of Bigfoot. I didn't know what they were. Never heard of none of that. I didn't grow up watching TV and into all that mess. We grew up in a country family, and it was farming, hunting, fishing, and doing what was required to sustain the family. And so we didn't mess around with TV much. And so I wasn't. As far as a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or anything of that sort, that wasn't anything that crossed my mind. I was concerned with bears. My biggest fear in the forest is a bear. I don't want to see a bear. I don't want to face one. If I'm hunting and a bear crosses out there, if he's 200 yards in front of me and he just crosses the road, I'm going home. I'm not going out there. And I'm just I have that much fear of them. Well, I was thinking this is a bear or it's a hog. There are bears in that area, but I've never seen any. Well, I keep walking, and near the end of the road, just 10 or 12 yards from the field, the peanut field, there's a little a washout through the road. There's a little small stream that runs year round. And that's the reason I didn't take the car down there. There's no way we could have crossed it. You have to step down to the edge of the water and then step across the water and then climb out of it and continue on your path. As I approached that, I heard a sound come from my left side. When I stepped down right next to that ditch, I heard a really loud, a bassy sound. It sounded to me like a big mother pig with her babies. And she was giving the babies the alert to get in line and let's get out of here. It was a short but drawn out, almost like a grunt. But when I heard it, I was placing my foot down on the leaves, the dry, crunchy leaves, so it muffled the sound. And instantly I was thinking that's a big hog. Well, I crossed the stream and I went just a few yards into the peanuts, and I looked back and I was facing the wood line, because when that road hits that field, the trees start and they go straight to my right, straight to my left, and the field is enormous. And so I was watching that left side, and I looked all down there expecting a big pig to come out, but it was silent. I didn't hear anything, uh, and all was good. So I continued out in the field. I went across the field to the trap, and there was nothing in it. Well, I turned and I was coming back, and I got to the road to that little ditch. And as soon as I stepped over that ditch, I heard that sound again. And this time, I heard it very clearly. It was right after I'd planted my foot and I was fixing to take the second step with my other foot. And it was a growl. And I've never in my life heard a growl that deep, that bassy sound. It sounded like it was coming from a deep well. It was just almost an echo to it. And it sent goosebumps all over me, and it scared me. And immediately, I knew it wasn't a pig then, but I was thinking bear. This is a bear. I'm armed. I got a 7 millimeter short magnum in my arm, and I was set up to kill a pig. But I've heard so many horror stories about bears, and my brother-in-law, he's been around hundreds of them, and I've asked him a lot about them, and he said the bears have a really awful smell. They stink, they growl, they make all kind of stomping noises, and just he gave me all the details what to look for when I'm in the woods to avoid being around bears because of the fear I have of them. And I immediately thought bear. Well, when I stepped across that ditch, eased over, it's just two sand paths where the tires of the tractor roll when he comes through the field there between the two fields. And I stepped over to the sand path that was opposite the side of the road that this thing was in the bushes. He was off to my right side now. And I was trying to stay on the sand. I avoided the leaves and just anything that would make a sound. And I didn't take but a couple of steps, and the growl came again, but I got hit in the face with a smell, and it was awful. It did smell like wet dog, and it smelled like it had urine in it, like ammonia smell, uh, feces. Just if you imagine the top 10 worst smells you have ever come across, it was all of them combined. It was awful. And I knew right then that there was a bear in the woods beside me. And my heart was pounding. I was scared. I had my headlamp on, but I had it turned down to the lowest setting because I use it 5 or 6 nights a week on these farms. And being on a fixed income, I can't go out and buy $7 packs of batteries every week. So I make my batteries last. And I had the headlamp on, and the lamp I used, it has a low, medium, high, then it has a red light, a green light, and then it goes off. Each click of the button takes you to a different mode. As I started moving, when I smelled that, I started moving toward the car. Well, he starts walking. I'm in a straight line, and this thing is to my side, but he's angling toward me. I could hear him getting closer, and it sounded like he was probably around 25 feet or so from me, but he was getting closer, and he would growl, but on the inhale he would snarl, like make a raspy snarling sound, almost like he had lung disease, a really bad emphysema where he had that gurgly sound like his lungs were congested, but really, really deep breaths. Like I don't think any man could suck in that much air. And when he exhaled, he would growl. Well, I kept walking, and I was trying to take the baby steps to where he wouldn't hear me. I didn't want him to notice me and come over there. His scent blew on me, so he couldn't smell me. That was my thought process. I could smell him, so he's definitely not smelling me. But he started getting closer, and I could feel the steps in the ground. And I thought it was just my mind. I was so scared, waiting for a bear to come out. And I'm thinking about all the wild hogs I've killed throughout my life. I've shot some at 5 feet distance from me, 100-pound pig, and shoot him with a 12 gauge, 3-inch Magnum slug, and never find him. They're that tough. And bears are supposed to be tougher and bigger. And that's what's going through my head. I've got a 7 millimeter short Magnum, which is a powerful rifle, but it's a bullet that's a little tiny 30 caliber, smaller than a 30 caliber bullet, little bitty thing. And I just, I don't want to shoot a bear. I don't want one 25 feet from me and shoot him and him attack me before he dies. And so I was scared. I was extremely scared. Well, when I realized this thing was, he was moving quick, but his steps were slow. I was taking pretty fast steps, but trying to stay as quiet as I could. And he was taking slow steps, but he's moving in on me quickly. Well, I tried to speed up. I can't run. I broke my back a few times, broke my neck. I've got a lot of problems, and I physically, I cannot run. If my life depended on it, I would be a dead man. And that night, I thought my life was dependent on getting away from this bear, and I couldn't run. I heard him. There's on the sides of this trail, the trees are huge. They're 60, 70-foot trees, but they have wild grapes growing off of them from the very top of the tree, and they hang down like a curtain on both sides of this trail. And he stepped through that stuff, and I heard him when he broke through it, and he got on the road behind me, and I froze. I stopped in place, and I knew this bear, he knew I was there. And when he come through the brush beside me, it sounded like he was 10, maybe 15 feet. He was close. Uh, he just stepped out and he stopped. And I stopped, and I was just trembling. My stomach was hurting. I was so afraid. And still doing that growl, and then he'd snarl. Well, then there was a thumping sound. I could feel it in the ground. The ground would shake. It was a boom, and the ground would shake, and he's growling. Then he'd snarl when he sucked in, and he'd blow out. And it was frightening. To just imagine a pillowcase full of wet sand and somebody dropping it from the top of your house, and it hits the ground next to your feet. It was shaking the ground like that. Well, I looked up, and I could see the car was 50 to 60 yards in front of me, and I could see it had a chrome front bumper, and the little rings around the headlights are chrome, and I could see the moonlight reflecting off of them. We had a big moon that night. But in this little trail, I got the trail isn't that wide. The two trails, it's probably 5 feet from outside, tire track to outside, 5 or 6 feet. And then a foot or two past it is this wall of green. And it goes all the way to the treetop. Well, the moon was further off. I think it was further toward the south. And so I was in total darkness. I could see the peanut field. It was lit up. You could see that light green color. And I could see the roof of the car. I could see the peanuts behind the car. The car was just in the first 10 or 15 foot of the trail. It was barely in the trail, but it was in shadow. But I could make out the chrome details. I could see, the roof. I could make out, I'm going to call her Lisa. I could make out Lisa's outline. I could see her head and her outline in the driver's seat, and I could see her moving around. And I knew I couldn't make it. I'm not going to run that distance. I'm not going to walk that distance. This thing is 10 or 15 feet behind me. He's growling and snarling, and now he's kicking the ground, and I have all this stuff's going through my head. Well, finally, I wanted to turn around and see what was behind me. I was smelling, this odor kept coming over me, and it smelled like fermented oranges. If you ever opened a jug of orange juice and it's soured, that it's got just a nasty fermenting smell. Jeff, you're crunching up the
Oh,
microphone
sorry.
there, buddy.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
uh, yeah, that's okay.
Sorry.
Thought that was me. I was getting scared again. Uh, but no, I started smelling that fermented orange smell, and it almost had an earthworm smell, I guess, an earthy smell mixed in with it. But it reminded me, um, if you ever seen an animal, a pet that's had a bad injury and it's got all that infection and it has that musty odor, that really sickening smell, it sort of smelled like that, but with this orangey fermented smell mixed in. It was awful. But I thought I was feeling the hair on the back of my neck move. Like this thing was standing on his back legs and blowing on me. I could bear it was faint, but I could feel it. Well, I tried to turn, and most of you guys know I broke my neck. I've got a lot of hardware in my neck, so I can't turn my head like I used to be able to, like most people can. So I have to turn from the midsection. I can turn a little bit, but to look the rest of the way, I have to twist my whole body. Well, I tried to turn to face this bear to where if I had to shoot him, I got a scope on this rifle. I would have to look past the scope. He was too close to use the scope on, and it was so dark in there I wouldn't have seen him. But I turned. I couldn't see anything because I couldn't turn far enough. So I had to rotate my heels to get my toes turned toward the woods on my left side to where I could twist a little further. And I kept rotating my feet and I twist and I wasn't seeing nothing. But I was still hearing that growling. I was feeling that thump coming up in the ground. And I finally got turned at the right angle and I twisted and I got the headlamp on and it's hitting the ground about 6 feet, I guess, in front of me. There's a lot of snakes out there, and so you keep it low in case you come across a copperhead or a moccasin. And it was still on that low set, that low angle. And when I turned, uh, I didn't see him, but I couldn't see the two trail either. I could see the two white stripes from the sand between me and the car. I could see the white stripes all the way to the car. But when I turned behind me, I could not see the white stripes of the two tire tracks, and I couldn't see the peanuts. It was just blackness. It was almost as though that part of the world just broke off into darkness. There was nothing. Everything was blacked out, and I could see um, a design or I don't know. I don't know the word I'm searching for. A texture. I could see texture, and my mind couldn't comprehend what I was looking at. Everything's black, but I could make out details, but I don't know what I'm making out. It was just a big void. And he growled. And that's when I realized the growl was coming from that way. And so I kind of leaned back to look, and I had to lean pretty good bit. He was about 3 feet from me. I could have reached out very easily and just touched him. I mean, he was so close. And he was looking down at me. And when I finally leaned back enough, I could see him. My headlamp was hitting him, his upper chest by his shoulder. I had him, he was lit up. And I was looking at a caveman. And you guys that have been with me for a long time, you know my earlier videos, I titled them, everything was titled something to do with a caveman. And that's where that originated from. It took me a while, a year or two, before I found out about Sasquatch and Bigfoot. I didn't know what it was. As far as I was concerned, I was looking at a caveman. But he was facing me. Let me change the angle so I can show you what he was doing without knocking the phone over. Okay, I'm gonna back up a little bit. He was looking down at me and he had his mouth open and snarling, but he had his fists like this, his elbows at his side, and he would throw his hands to the ground really fast, throw his fist down, and he would stomp his foot at the same time. And that was that thumping I was feeling. He threw them hands down and stomped that foot, and he was so angry at me. But if you can see, here's the bottom of my chest right here. The top of my head was um, probably 5 inches or so below the bottom of his chest muscles, the pectoral muscles. My head was halfway between, if he had a belly button, between there and his the bottom part of his chest muscle. He was so big, but he took up the entire road, and that's why I couldn't see behind him. I couldn't see past him. But he would swing his fist down, and I would feel the wind come off. I mean, he was almost hitting me. I had the rifle in my hands. I did turn the safety off. My finger was on the trigger, and the angle I was turned to see him, the end of the barrel was aiming at his right chest. I could have blown a hole in his chest or his shoulder if I would have squeezed the trigger. But he was so big. There was so much mass to that thing. I wouldn't be here. If I'd have pulled the trigger, I honestly believe he would have killed me. And I ended up, I slowly turned back toward the car, and I was so scared. My heart hurt. Every beat just hurt. It was so painful. And I started getting sick. My mouth was watered. My eyes were watered. And I had tears. I wasn't crying, but I had tears running out of my eyes. I was at the point of losing control of my body functions. And I've never faced nothing like that. I didn't know what it was. It looked like a caveman. And I turned back to the car, and he's still doing the snarling. He's stomping. I could feel the ground shake, and this is continuing. And finally, it dawned on me, the headlamp. And so I turned the headlamp toward the car, and I started hitting the button on the headlamp as fast as I could cycle through it, and had it aiming at the car. And each push of the button, it changes modes: low, medium, high, red light, green light, off, low, medium, high. And so I was just going through all the lights as fast as I could do that. And finally, the headlights for the car came on. And then I heard Lisa scream something. I didn't make it out at first, but the headlights had come on, and I could hear her saying something. Then the high beams came on. And then she started screaming, and she started blowing the horn, and she was flashing the high beams, high to low, just flashing them back and forth and blowing the horn. And she was using the F word. She had a pretty rough language on her, but she was saying F and run, and flipping out. And when she started blowing the horn, he took off. He took off to the left side. He came from my right, and when he took off, he continued the direction he was originally going. And I could hear him. It sounded like he was hitting trees, big trees, and just snapping them off. He was plowing everything over. And I went straight to the car, and I hopped in the front seat. I had that loaded rifle. Safety was off. I think my finger was even still on the trigger. I jumped in the front seat with all my gear on. And she's freaking out. And I said, "Did you see that bear?" Because that's the only thing. It had to have been a bear. It had no snout, no ears. It was a person. And she said, "That wasn't no effing bear." And I knew what I saw. And it was not a bear. But there was no other explanation for it. There was nothing else it could have been. And I said, "What do you mean it wasn't a bear?" She said, "That was a man. That was the biggest effing man I've ever seen." And this emotion came over me. I thought I was going to black out. I almost fainted. Just knowing she seen the same thing. And I didn't explain to her what all had happened, but she was describing the face and the mouth, and she could see the teeth. And he didn't have, I hear a lot of people tell me that their encounters that they got the sharp canine teeth like a dog, and this one didn't. He had teeth like we do. It looked like human teeth, just really, really big. But she's seen it from the car and between 50 and 60 yards from where I was at. It was that big of a distance, and she was able to see his teeth. And she said, your head came up just above his belly button. I could see his entire upper body. And she said he had his fist balled up and he was slinging him to the ground and stomping his foot. And I didn't say nothing to her about it. And it just, everything she said confirmed with what I saw. And we had left. We never said nothing about it again. And the hell on earth for me started that night. And I ended up eventually having to seek out psychiatric help. I was treated for PTSD through medication. I had a rough time because of that. I gave up hunting altogether. I stayed out of the woods. At night, it scared me. I couldn't sleep in the dark no more. Every sound at home would petrify me. And everywhere I passed by that had any type of vegetation, I was seeing things in the vegetation. There wasn't nothing there. It was my mind, but I was seeing figures in it. And I've had nightmares from the date that happened. I recently had one about 2 weeks ago. I don't have them as often anymore. But what I encountered, what happened to me, I get a lot of flack about going in the woods now on my videos. I know you guys, my regular YouTube family, y'all see a bunch of the comments that people make, and they give me a hard time. If you're so scared of them, then why do you go out in the woods after them? And to begin with, I'm not going after them. I'm looking for the evidence to prove that they've been here and they are here. I'm just trying to bring awareness that these things are real, to show, this, it's not a joke. They are very real. They're very large. And I don't think we'd stand a chance against one our own size. I don't think three of us could handle the power of one of them things. But by me going back out there and finally getting the nerve up to face what has ruined my life, I think 3 years now, I have been off the medication 100%. I take nothing for the PTSD. I still have issues. We go in the woods. I do get scared. If I hear a growl, I do get afraid, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And you'll hear it on the videos. If I get scared, I'm the first one to tell people I'm scared, and I'm not going. If I hear one of these things, I'm not going after him. I'm not going toward him to get him on camera. If he crosses the road when I'm filming and I get him, he's had, but I'm not going after him. I've had too many encounters. That was my only bad encounter. And I believe with all my heart, if she wouldn't have been there with me that night, I would not be here today. I believe that her blowing the horn and flashing the headlights would save my life. But these things are real. And for people to mock you, a lot of you guys, a lot of y'all that are part of our family here on YouTube, y'all have had encounters, and I know a lot of you guys want to keep them to yourself because of ridicule, and I have taken a boatload of ridicule, but I'm at the point, I don't care. If someone's so ignorant that they can't believe that things like that can exist, then how can they believe in a God that they've never seen? How can they believe in the supernatural powers of the angels? And even if they worship Satan instead of God or whatever God they choose, they're still believing in something they've never seen. And how do you do that, but yet you don't believe in a creature that so many people have encountered? But it's I didn't mean to carry on that long. I wanted to get that out. I've had so many people ask me lately about that encounter, and I was wanting to do a live stream when Jeff was down here with me. I wanted to do one with him and to discuss that encounter, but we just didn't have time. It's even when he was here, we go nonstop, and he's he's been part of that, and he's witnessed it firsthand. We don't get much downtime here, uh, but it's coming soon. Well, I do have a lot of things planned. I just don't have dates for any of it yet. I'm waiting on getting my bike back so I can get around. But we have a lot in the works. Just transportation is a huge issue, and uploading
Working
videos
on
takes
that.
a long time. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It will be taken care of. We'll have a few short videos between now and then. As soon as I get mobile, there are a couple places I am going to go check. One of them is where my nephew had an encounter last year, and he thought they were odd impressions. They got chased out of their camp, him and his friends, and they came back, and one of the guys had a rifle, and he laid the rifles laid in the tent on his airbed, and they had the tent doors were open. They were sitting around the fire, and they were right next to the river, and they heard something hit the river and come across it. It came up the bank on their side and was storming right in toward them, just tearing trees down. It was really angry. It was hollering and yelling at them, and they took off running. And they came back the next day to see what was left of their camp, and nothing was touched. The tent was still open with the young man's rifle laying on the mattress right there in the open, right there by the door of the tent. And he sent me pictures. He said the strangest thing is like something may have landed here. There's these deep impressions, and my nephew's really tall, and his dad is pretty close to 7 foot, and he's not far from it. So he has I think he wears a 13 or a 14 shoe, and he's got his foot next to it, and he sends me the picture, and before I even zoomed it in, I could see 5 toes and a heel. The outline was so defined, and I zoomed it in and I put a red outline around it, and I emailed it or texted it back to him, and I said, "That's a footprint, man. That's not no indention, but they were indented in the ground." And he said it was yelling and hollering at him. But I'm going to be going to that area. He's going to draw. He's working full time plus, and so he's going to draw me a map of that exact location, and I'm going to check an area out in Malone. Um, I have a man that's wanting to. He wants me to meet him. He's coming up from Central Florida. He grew up on the outskirts of Marianna, and his entire family still lives there, and all of them have had encounters. He had encounters on the exact highway and um, the exact area where I had my bad encounter. And he's seen a gray one and a black one. And he said the gray one was huge. The one I seen that night was black, and it looked like it had red in the hair. It was, as time goes, I keep remembering other details about that night. And I thought I'd remembered the hair red at one time, and then I started remembering it being coal black. And then I remember where the light was hitting it, it was showing red on the outsides of the light beam. So I don't know. I don't know what color it was, but he was big. Uh, the 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 area over there in Malone where I'm going is about 10 miles as the crow flies from that property where I had that encounter. And I'm just going to do a drive by. I'm not going to go walking in there by myself. I'm just going to drive through it and pay attention and see what type of signs that I'm seeing. And if it doesn't look too crazy, I may walk 100 yards or so from the car and just do a little bit of filming. But I do have a couple of our YouTube family who live here locally, pretty close to me, within an hour, less than an hour, and they're wanting to go, so I won't have to go by myself over there. It's just I feel a little better when I got family with me, and that's the only reason I went back next to where the plum tree incident happened, because I had brother Jeff with me, and That makes a big difference. Uh, I'm sorry I took up so much of you guys' time. Sorry about all the problems with the connection. We will have internet here. It's just a matter of getting our vehicle problems taken care of first, and we got a few other things we've got to do. We got a baby goat that has to go in, a little male. Uh, he's going to be a permanent fixture. He's got that dwarfism where he's really, really tiny, and we have to get him castrated. Uh, so we got to get that done, and we got a few projects that have to be taken care of first before I put any money into internet or anything like that. But we're working on it. If any of you guys have an encounter, if you'd like to come on live and discuss it here with us, if you'd shoot me an email, I'll be more than happy to talk with you and bring you on and let you tell your story. And there'll be people that are wanting to ask questions. And if you don't have questions about most of these encounters, I don't know if something's wrong with you or not, but um, I question all of them. There's so much I don't know that I want to know. But if y'all have any desire, if you'd like to come on and share it, I'll put my email address up. Matter of fact, I think I can put it up now. I think it's on here. There we go. On the bottom there in the ticker, it'll have my email address, standinggoatsrescue@outlook.com. But do you guys have any questions you'd like to ask Jeff or myself? If you would, we can get to a few of them real quick before we close out, and just put them in capital letters if you don't mind. My old eyes don't work so good, even with my cheaters on. I got.
Hey, Donnie.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, just real quick, if you don't mind, I'd like to say hey to Peppy the Two Bears. Hello, Peppy. Hope you like your shirt, man.
Oh yeah.
You're a good guy, brother. I appreciate you too. And, Mark Copel, that king live wire, like your show, man. I like you.
Oh
All
yeah.
good stuff, brother. I just want to say hey to both of you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank all of you guys. Let me get Mindy's question up. Mindy asked what was on the island. That island out there was really thick. We considered going over to it. I'm trying to keep Benji from knocking this rack over. I got my phone on. We discussed taking a walk over to it, but it was so thick. It just looking at it, you get a weird feeling that we just need to avoid it.
Danger.
And yeah, and I'd mentioned it when we had shut the camera off while we was trying to get our gear set out, what we needed to have before we went any further. I turned the camera off for just a few minutes, and we were talking about it. And when I mentioned about us going over there, and that's the first thing Jeff had said, I don't think that'd be a good idea. And he said he didn't feel right about it, and I didn't either. But I get so much does scare me out there. I just don't want my fear to misguide me. And when Jeff said that, it just confirmed it that's something that we don't need. Let me.
We were right making that decision too. That's what we saw. We were right.
Oh yeah.
That was the right decision.
Yeah. Let me get. Sharon asked, "How's your friend doing now that went with you that night?" That night, it wasn't long after that. She got in trouble for a bunch of stuff, and she had to take a vacation. And I have not spoken with her since. I don't know if she's still where they sent her or not. What she got in trouble for are some things that I really don't want around me, period. And so I haven't had any contact with her. I think she's still in that place where they sent her. I'm sorry about that. Let me see if I've missed you. Okay, here's one. Can you see that, Jeff? Buttered. Yeah. Do either of you have a feeling towards whether they're Preadamite or Nephilim. With me calling them a caveman.
I couldn't say either way, man. I just don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Yeah, at one time I did have I had a lot of thoughts toward a possibility of maybe Nephilim descent, but I really don't know. There's so much more information that's out now that has changed what I originally thought, and I have um, I have no idea. I don't know what to even say about them.
We know they're
They're
real.
you, they're definitely real, and you hear good encounters, some good that they've done, but you also hear the bad. And what has me on a pole is what oh gee whiz, I can't remember the fella's name now with the missing 411.
Yeah, Dave Pilates.
David. Yeah,
Yeah.
with what he writes about all the people missing, where are they? What took them? And that's come on, Benji, you got to quit, buddy. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. There's a possibility it could be them. Uh, oh, Jeff, pull your mic back down. They can't hear you.
Sorry.
Oh, I think he fell.
There we go.
There you go.
Better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, we will take all the prayers we can get. We honestly
Always.
we live off the prayers, and you have no idea how often when I get out in these areas, I always pray before I even leave the house, and then when I get there in the car, I pray before I get out and get started. And if I get that feeling, that bad feeling that something is going to happen or something is near me, I'll start praying. I pray in what I call my day pray is where I'll pray in my mind as I'm walking or working or from driving. I'll pray with my eyes open as I'm driving a lot, and it's just
Absolutely.
it's something that I started a long time ago, and I call it day pray. Um, let's see J Day says not Nephilim, they're wiped out by the flood, but maybe the Anunnaki have something to do with their existence. Um,
Possible.
yeah, it is possible. Uh, the there's so many different accounts on the flood and these islands that they found giants on afterwards, after the flood. I don't know. Um, I know I don't never want to face one, not alone.
No,
I
no.
mean, these things are uh, they're everywhere. If you're out in the forest, you can bet that you're being watched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is one. What Larry's saying, Donnie, believe in your sixth sense. Yes, sir. Jeff and I talk about that quite often,
Absolutely.
and that sixth sense is, I believe it's um, Holy Spirit's way of informing us if we're in a situation that's fixing to get bad. I believe it's like our escape button to get out. And there were times when
I listen to mine.
yeah, absolutely. But I'm hoping that I had an encounter that was sent to me, and I've been wanting to share it. He's supposed to rewrite it. I could not. I couldn't edit it without changing the story to take out the rough language that was in it. It was hard to read, and there were probably 1,000 words in the email. And when I removed the curse words out of it, it left about 70 words left. Uh, but he's supposed to had rewritten it and took out the foul language so that I could put it on the channel, and I haven't heard back from him. But if he does, that's a good thing. If not, it was meant to be either way. Uh, let's see. let's see, this is one that I'd heard. I think on one of Carrie's channels, some guys were talking about that. They're half human and the other half is unknown. Could possibly be alien, with the
Uh,
Sasquatch. And there's so many people that have that's got DNA now that shows a human mother side and unknown father.
brother,
That's bizarre. That's absolutely bizarre. Well, guys, sorry to keep it up so long tonight. I'm going to be doing just a standard catch up live stream here sometime in the next few days, just to touch base with everybody during the day. And I haven't had much time to do this. And my love is God and family and here. I love being here. I get the family that I have on YouTube is so far above and beyond
yeah.
anything I've known. And
I
I'm
hear
just,
about that every time I go to see how good you people are. And I thank you for that. It's nice to hear that about good people.
no,
Donnie's exactly
absolutely.
what you say. I love that man. He I wanted to see him the first video I ever saw him. I wanted to meet him, and I wanted to meet him bad enough that I took the initiative to ask him if I could meet him. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't regret that at all.
Yeah.
He's one of my best friends. I
Oh,
love that man.
absolutely. Yeah, we definitely love Jeff. He's part of our family, and Rosie is addicted to him. Uh, we had several, Martha and Larry. We had several in here that said, great show and thank you. Uh, Thank you, Robert. As my brother Robert, he, that man works. Lord, he works a lot. Um, but we ended up having a good turnout tonight. Thank you guys, all of y'all, for taking part in this with us. Sorry we had a rocky area there with the signal dropping out and all the problems. One day soon I'll have that fixed. Then we'll have regular internet and won't have to deal with that mess again. It's just something where we live at. Jeff knows where we're at. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And
Yeah,
you have to be in a certain spot in the house for your phone to work properly. But it's all good. It's where the Lord put us for now. And until He relocates me, it's where I'm going to be stuck. But we're going to be doing a nature walk. I didn't know if I didn't have time to mention that to you, Jeff, when you were here. Coming up very soon, I'm going to be doing just a nature walk. There's going to be I'm not going to narrate any part of the walk. I'm just going to walk and film. I've got some of our YouTube family. They are, their life is spent in a chair or in a bed, and they're
bless your
unable
heart.
to get up and get around. And I've been asked by them and several others if I would just go out and film nature for them and let them hear the sounds of the
Sure,
nature and see what's out there.
sure.
And my heart's been led to do that for a long time now, and that was
God
confirmation that
bless
I
him.
needed to do it. Absolutely, God bless them indeed. But I'm going to be doing that soon, and I'm going to try to do it in a live stream. Uh, if that works out, if I can get a signal in the area I'm wanting to do it in, it's a large area, and I have seen some stuff over there in one part of it. It's where I filmed the video, the 200-pound squirrel. That's the area that I'm going to do it in, but I'm not going to be in that particular spot of that area. I've seen a lot of weird things over there, and I don't want to be in that part by myself. But the far end of it, more people hang around in there, and that's going to be the area that I do it. I'm just going to probably take an hour or two and just walk around and film. And if I can do it live stream, that'll be a blessing, because the live stream, they'll be able to watch it and it'll upload continuously without me having to sit there and monitor the phone 24/7 to make sure it does upload. But that's coming up soon. I do have a couple locations I'm also going to go to, and I will post a heads up before I go there. So if you guys are available and you'd like to take part in that stream and join us. But if y'all have an encounter, if you have anything you'd like to come on the show and share with the rest of our family here, send me an email. Let me know, touch base with me, and we will set it up and make it happen. But thank y'all for being with us. God bless each and every one of you.
God
And
bless
guys,
y'all.
absolutely. And until next time,
Hey,
and you guys be safe. Jeff, don't you go nowhere.
okay.
But
I,
good
I
night,
will say
everyone.
this:
And yes,
if they want me to go back, if they want us to go back to that place, I'll go back with you. I just want to start a little bit earlier and
yeah,
have at least 3 flashlights on me, just in case.
yeah, absolutely. Let me
But I'm not scared
put
to go
this
back in
up.
there. We'll go back.
Yes, indeed. We'll definitely go back. It's not alone. And just this, I wanted to put this up right quick. This is my good friend Stephanie. Uh, says she can't wait to meet me and the family someday, and that's gonna happen. I've got a lot of my family on here, and we're gonna be meeting up with them, and we'd like to get something going sometime after the new year passes and all this cootie virus stuff goes away, to where we could maybe have a meeting somewhere, a central part, to where
I'll
a
go ahead and
lot
warn you,
of us can
Donnie.
come together.
They're real lovable, Stephanie. I'm gonna go ahead and warn you. They're real lovable.
We love everybody.
They're good
If you gotta
people.
hate somebody, you weren't meant to be around them anyhow.
There you
But
go.
yes, sir. Well, y'all have a good night. God bless y'all, and I look forward to seeing y'all again. And until next time, be safe.
Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.